selling on Poshmark since 2019 and have been able to consistently grow my income using this platform. And when I first started reselling on Poshmark, I actually listed something, it didn't move. I actually felt like I failed and it made me never want to sell anything on there again. Fast forward to today, I am now excited to say that I am making consistent daily sales. And over time, I've just learned exactly what it is that the Poshmark platform wants. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 more tips on how to make consistent sales on Poshmark that include some of their new features and their new rules because a lot has changed with Poshmark over the last year. And so what you may be doing last year probably isn't working this year. If you haven't already, go back and watch part 1 where you can get 5 more additional tips, and you don't have to watch these in order because they can all be applied at any time. All right, so the first tip is going to be great cover photos. Your cover photo is the very first photo in your listing, and it's the one that means the most because it represents your item and it is the first impression that your buyer sees. I'll show you how they see it in a moment, but in general, you just want to make sure that this one photo, all of them, but really this specific one, has any features that is going to make that item great. So if there's a specific feature that you think performs better in this brand or in this item, you want to make sure that it is very visible and very apparent in the cover photo. Let me actually show you 2 photos side by side and why I chose one over the other. So here is one of my recent just bread and butter style-based sales on Poshmark. Now this could have been my cover photo, which it's a very clean, clear, well-lit cover photo, and that's really what you want with all of your photos. You want everything to showcase the item, not have a cluttered background, and have good lighting so that the item can be, visibly seen and the buyer's not having to squint or wonder what's going on. But this is the cover photo that I actually chose. And I chose this one because, again, it is the first impression that the buyer is going to have. And I knew that one of the key features of this item was that major flare sleeve there. And so I chose to actually pull that out and show that in the cover photo. And so if your photos are looking like this, it can be the difference of your item sitting for 6 months versus it selling like this one did in just a couple of weeks. Like I said, this is your buyer's first impression of you. And sometimes that's all the buyer is going to have to go off of. And it is the make or break on whether they click into your item or not. So let me show you on the Poshmark website how your buyer is seeing your item. So I'm on my home page for Poshmark and things are curated for me based on what I've searched, my likes and everything, but every buyer is going to view it in the same way regardless of what their algorithm is feeding them. They're going to see photos like this with a very short part of your title, which we'll talk about in just a second, that they are seeing. So this cover photo is so important because, again, it's your buyer's first impression. It doesn't matter if you have a really great second photo or a really great third photo. They may never click into your listing if the first impression isn't something that they like or if it's not clear that that's what they're looking for. And so you want to make sure that your cover photo is going to stand out. Poshmark has recently changed the size of the photo. They actually have a requirement now on what the size of the photo can be. They used to be square images, and that's honestly how I built my entire business. It was great because square format was just optimized for every platform. I list on multiple platforms. I list on eBay, Poshmark, and Depop. And so having a square photo worked for all of them, and it was awesome. So I took everything in a square photo format. Now that Poshmark has kind of thrown a wrench in these plans, I'm having to find a way to adjust. And so I don't really want to mess up my workflow by having to take different photos or having to crop a bunch of stuff. So I'm trying to just keep my workflow the same. And what I've made sure to do is to make sure that the sides don't get cut off and just make sure my item is very well centered and keeping that Poshmark crop in mind that when I cross post onto Poshmark, that's what's going to happen. So if you are a seller who is only on Poshmark, then you'll want to switch to their new photo size while you're taking pictures to just make it an easy upload for yourself. But if you're like most of us and you're cross posting on different places, then you can either switch to the new size format for Poshmark and then just use that in the rest of your listings. Or you can do what I do, keep it square mode, but just be cognizant while you're taking the pictures. So here we are again on the search. You can see that this listing right here, whoever this seller is, probably didn't realize that this was going to get cropped out. So they probably took this photo in square mode, and then when they moved it over to Poshmark, it got cropped and you cannot see the full item. Versus a picture like this, it's really easy because it is within frame that when it got cropped, the item is still very apparent. So just want to be very aware of that while you're taking pictures, whether you're cross-posting or whether you're going to upload directly onto Poshmark. And by the way, just in case you were wondering, it looks the exact same on the Poshmark app as well. They kind of have more of a Pinteresty feel, I noticed, when they updated their app and their website. It definitely has a Pinterest feel. I actually like the layout of it. I think it looks really good, clean and crisp. Just not a fan of the size of those photos, but it's what I've got to work with, so I'm going to make it happen. Okay, next tip number 2 is to make sure that you have the best keywords at the front of your title. Now, in part 1, I talked about having keyword-rich titles, which is still true. This is a little more of a niche tip with your titles, and it is to make sure that your best keywords are towards the front, and it's for the exact same reason that I told you that your cover photo needs to be really good. So let's take a look once again at how the buyer is perceiving this. Again, it's the exact same on the app, but maybe even cut off a little bit more on the app. But if this is my buyer's first impression and they're wondering what the item is, Poshmark is going to give them the size, so that's a no-brainer. But if there's any other information that they would need that's not presented in the cover photo, that is not presented in the size or the price, and it's something that you want to make sure the buyer sees, it's going to be a make or break for them. You want to make sure that's at the front of your title if you want it to be visible for them while they're searching. Now, this doesn't mean you need to go back and change up all your titles. In fact, I recommend that you don't do that. I think even if you don't have it towards the front of your title, as long as they're in there, your buyer's still probably going to find them. But this is just a little booster, something that can make a little bit of a difference if you really want to niche down and perfect those listings. And in general, it is just a good idea for you to have your best keywords towards the front of your title for any platform. Don't overanalyze this. You don't need to make sure it fits in, but just do your best to get them towards the front. The best keywords could be brands, they could be features, they could be certain colors, just really whatever for that specific piece is the thing that your buyer needs to know the most and that they're most likely to search for as a key factor. Just a quick example of where this might make a difference. I'm looking at this listing here. Good photo. I can tell that it's a longer dress, but if I'm a buyer and first of all, I don't know the brand, maybe there's a specific brand I'm liking. If the brand adds value, I would obviously have that at the front. And then I also don't know the true length of it. Am I looking for a midi dress? Am I looking for a maxi dress? Depending on what I'm looking for, if I don't see that length here in the title, I might just move right past it. Luckily, the seller did put it towards the front of their title. All right, tip number 3 is making sure to send out your offers to watchers right away. Now, you may already do this in some form, whether it's through a cross-posting tool, maybe you've got Posture VA, maybe you're like me and you use Nifty to do cross-posting and all the automations, whatever you're using, even if it's manually, as soon as you possibly can, because from the moment your buyer hits to the time you send the offer, the shorter that window is, the more likely that your buyer is going to actually accept that offer or counter or interact with you and not lose interest in the item. The longer the time from their first interaction, which would be liking the item, to the time they interact with you again, their attention span is just it's gone away. Their interest in the item is draining. They've probably found a different item. They're searching for a different item. So as soon as you can capture that, you're capturing their attention within the smallest window possible. That is ideal. And so if you're like me and you were using a cross-listing tool, setting it up for the shortest setting possible is really important. So I actually use Nifty for this. Like I said, it cross-posts, but it also does all the things in the background, and it's basically replaced everything else for me. So here is Poshmark, my Poshmark section. You can do it for each platform. I'm having it share and do relist for me so that I don't have to worry about it. And there's also a spot for offers. Now it's automatically going to default to a suggestion for you. I recommend changing that to the shortest amount possible. So for me, it's 0 to 5 minutes. You might have it set on whatever cross-listing tool you have right now for like 5 to 10 minutes. That's still a really short window, but what would be even better though is 0 to 5 minutes as soon as you can make it happen. And again, the goal here is really to capture that interest when it is most available with your buyer so that they don't go with your competitor. I think this is going to be the theme of this video, but like really putting yourself in your buyer's shoes. When your buyer is shopping, they can hit the like button in order to watch the item or like the item on Poshmark. And what this does is it basically saves it in a like section for them. They're clicking it because they have an intention to save it and to potentially buy in the future. If not, they would have just purchased it right away, right? And so what this does is it essentially saves the item for the buyer, but the other thing it does is it also gives Poshmark permission to start sending out your buyer notifications on the item. So when things change with the item, if you do a price drop, if you're doing anything at all, even if it sells, your buyer can get a notification from that. And so their like is essentially giving Poshmark permission to start sending those notifications. And so use this to your advantage. When they like, they're opening it up for those notifications. If you can capture that interest quickly and automatically send out those offers to the likers, they're liking it, they've got interest, they then immediately receive a notification that, oh wow, I can actually get it at a discount. And this offer actually expires. So I've got a little bit of time pressure as well. So again, I've tried this many different ways, multiple different time settings. And since I started on Poshmark for many, many years, the best time I have found is just right after they like it. Okay, tip number 4 is very similar, and it is to respond to those offers right away. So not only can you send out offers to your buyers, but they can also send you offers. On Poshmark, it's actually a feature that cannot be turned off. And so previously, I was only on eBay and I did not have offers allowed on eBay. I could only send them to my buyer. They could not send them to me. When I got on Poshmark, this was a huge change for me and I had to really learn a different style of pricing, a different style of offers and communication with my buyer. And so it's not something you can turn off. Therefore, we've got to find a way to optimize and to work with it. Now, you really have two choices when it comes to responding offers right away. You can either manually do it, which is every time an offer comes in, you're pulling it up. Hopefully you're trying to do it again as soon as possible so that that buyer doesn't lose that interest. By the time you send out an offer, maybe you're doing it hours later, somebody else that they also liked sent them a better offer and they captured their attention sooner, so they've already made the purchase. You want to do it as quickly as possible. So maybe you're doing this manually and you're just setting yourself up with a schedule to check, or you can do it somehow automatically. Now, one of the best automatic ones that I've seen, honestly, the only one I know of that works decently well is actually built right within Poshmark, and it is a newer feature that they just started rolling out. It is called Smart Sell. So here's how this works according to Poshmark. Smart Sell is a way to auto send offers. And so basically their AI will go back and forth depending on your settings to counter with that buyer immediately. You set the minimum price, so the lowest you're willing to sell the item for, and Smart Sell will not go below it. And then after you get that set up and your listing is live, if somebody sends you an offer, they will automate sending, accepting, and countering those offers for you based off of your minimum price. Now, you can do this when you're actually listing on Poshmark in the draft itself, but they actually just rolled out a new tool where you can do it in bulk now, which is super helpful. In order to set this up in bulk, if you want to do it for your entire closet or you want to bulk grab a lot of them after you filter down, you can make your selections and then go to the bulk gear icon here and go to bulk Smart Sell. From here, you can enable or disable, which is a really nice feature too. And then you're going to set your minimum price to a percentage off. You can also do a custom. I think that this is a really nice feature that they have added, especially in a bulk setting. And if you set your systems right, it can do like everything in the background for you for free, which is really, really cool. Again, you'd want to have a system set in place because not only is it going to, potentially auto accept things or counter things for you, but it looks like it can also send out offers. Now, I'll be playing around with this in the future because I just found out that they do bulk smart selling. But before, I was only doing this manually and I'm still doing it manually. I just like having that control of checking on my offers regularly and, deciding whether I'm going to accept or counter based on how old the item is. But if you set up a system in place where you were just fine with things across the board, Smart Sell would be a really great option. At the end of the day though, however you want to do it, the most important thing is that you are responding as quickly as possible to the offers that you get. Again, to try and capture the attention for that item so that your buyer doesn't lose that incentive. Okay, and lastly, tip number 5 is to participate in the Poshmark online events, specifically closet clear out. Some people also call this CCO if you've ever seen it on like any reselling video and you weren't sure what it was. Closet clear out is an online event that Poshmark used to do weekly. I would say it's still weekly, and I'll tell you why I'm kind of hesitant about that in a second, but they typically do them weekly, multiple times a week, and it's just a couple days of the week that they pick. Now, they've gone back and forth with the days that they're picking. I think it's Friday and Sunday, but you'd have to double check. And whenever closet clear out is going on, you can better incentivize your buyers to buy from you, and it's a great way to run sales. I personally use it to move out older inventory and just generate a bunch of sales all in one day. So the way this works is you can drop your lowest historical price by 10% off of Poshmark. Your historical price is the lowest you've ever had that item set for on Poshmark. So it's got to be 10% below your lowest historical price. If you drop prices for any item during closet clear out by that amount, your buyer is going to receive that notification, your likers for the item. Plus, they're also going to be offered a discount on shipping as well. And that discount is paid for by Poshmark. The combination of the price drop notification with cheaper shipping is a powerful combination that usually generates lots of sales. And the cool part is you're only paying for a portion of that discount. Now, when you do this, I believe there is like a 6, maybe 8-hour window of how long that offer lasts too. So your buyer is giving a time pressure for how long they're going to have that offer available, which is another layer of making sales. So how do you know if closet clear out is happening? You can do this on the app or on your desktop, but you're going to go to your notifications, your news section, and there's usually a banner here at the top. You can actually see there is an event going on right now. You can click to learn more about it, but that closet clear out banner will be at the top of your notifications if it's going on. And I usually refresh the page multiple times because the banner can change. So refresh the page a couple times. You can do the same thing on the app by just scrolling down to refresh it, but check and see. I think it's Friday and Sunday. Sometimes they switch to Thursday, but check and see if that's going on. When you do see it, that is a great opportunity to run closet clear out in your store by dropping prices by 10%. Now, when you want to participate in closet clear out, you can either do it manually on Poshmark using that bulk tool feature that I showed you before. You can also use a tool like Posher VA or a tool like Nifty to do it. Whatever you have available and you want to use, there's probably a different process for each one, but however you want to do it. I personally still keep Posher VA, even though I have Nifty, for this exact purpose, because with Posher VA, I can just click my extension. Actually, let me just show you. Okay, so if I wanted to run closet clear out using Posher VA, after you download the extension, by the way, I've got a link and a coupon code down below if you ever want to try this out. There's also a free trial. Just make sure you use my coupon code when signing up for the free trial. That way, if you decide you want to keep it, you'll get a discount off of your first month. It's pretty cheap, and one closet clear out sale would pay for it. But this is the extension, and whenever I want to drop prices, again, you can do this manually on Poshmark if you want. I just like keeping this because it makes it so easy. So I can go to bulk pricing update under actions. I would drop the lowest historical price by 10. And the reason I still keep Posher VA is because I can easily filter by a minimum age. Now, I use Closet Clear Out to move older inventory. So I just say anything that is 90 days or older, I go ahead and do. You can also filter by some other stuff, and I make sure to click all, and then I would hit start. Literally, that's it. A few clicks and it would do everything for me in the background without me having to go to my closet, filter through things, try to figure out the age of certain items. it's totally worth it for me to have that extension to do that on closet clear out days, because on closet clear out days, I usually generate multiple hundreds of dollars worth of sales by moving out older inventory. You might choose to want to do it on your newer inventory, but for me, that's how I use closet clear out, and that's how I think it works the best for my situation. At the end of the day though, closet clear out is a really cool sale that just has so many different incentives for your buyer, and the way they get notified, just like Poshmark's working for you to sell those items for you. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention Poshmark has recently made a blog post. And by the way, if you're not following the Poshmark blog, you need to. I never used to look at it, but they just keep silently releasing stuff in this blog. And if I don't pay attention to it, I miss stuff that's going on, and they don't tell like us. They don't notify their sellers. This is the only place I've been able to find stuff. On their recent blog post, they put an update. This happened at the beginning of May, and they said, we're testing out our promotions to better understand what is most motivating to shoppers. And while we do that, you may not see promotions you normally have access to, like closet clear out. Thank you for your patience as we work to improve promotions for everyone. And so like I said, they used to do closet clear out weekly, and I think they still do, but I think some sellers are not getting that notification while they're testing these things out in the background. So my rule of thumb has just been, if I want to do closet clear out, I'm checking to make sure that I have that banner on my app or on my desktop to confirm that I'm eligible for it, that it's actually going on. And then I'm running closet clear out. If you don't see it, which there have been some weeks that I haven't seen it when I expected it, because of this update, I would not run it, because there's just no guarantee that your store is going to run properly with closet clear out unless you see that banner. All right, you guys, so those are all of the tips I have for you in today's video. I have so many more, like literally Poshmark just keeps changing all kinds of stuff. And so if you'd like to hear 5 more tips to make consistent sales on Poshmark, type more down below and I'll consider doing a part 3. Don't forget, I've already got that part 1 up if you want to watch that. I just dropped that recently. And so you'll have 10 total tips so far on things that you can comb over and evaluate with your own Poshmark closet if you would like to start working on making more consistent sales on Poshmark. I hope these tips are helping you guys. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you want to be notified when new videos go live. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.